Welcome back to the IdahoSports.com Girls Basketball State Tournament Preview Special. We are coming to you live on the IdahoSports.com YouTube channel, Facebook page, X account, and Instagram account. As you're hanging out tonight and you want to give your favorite team, player, coach a shout out, throw it in the chat. We'll throw it up on the screen. And if you could, while you're hanging out, if you're on Facebook, hit that like button. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And then share this when it's all said and done. That'll help those who aren't here live tonight find it a little easier on replay amongst all the other stuff that's happening on social media. It is time now for our 4A state tournament preview. Let's bring on the gentleman that will be broadcasting this tournament for us on IdahoSports.com. First up is Lucas Gebhardt. Lucas, what's going on?
Hey, Brandon, how's it going? Good to be here. And it's best time of year, right? State basketball season.
No doubt. Looking very comfortable, like he's reclined back, is also our 4A expert, Lance Taylor. What's going on, Lance? Lance, you're muted. You got to unmute your mic. You're so laid back.
There we go. I'm unmuted now. Officially unmuted and relaxed.
Yes, you look uber relaxed. So,
yeah,
guys,
I better relax now because the tournament's not going to give us any time to relax at all.
Yeah, you want heartburn. Just take a look at this bracket, guys. Here are the matchups: 3 and 6, South Fremont and Fruitland; 2 and 7, Bear Lake, McCall Donnelly; number 1, Sugar Salem. The Diggers undefeated. They're taking on Gooding. And then the 4-5 is Timberlake and Kimberly. Lucas, what's the first thing that jumps out to you when you look at this bracket?
Just teams 1 through 4, right? I mean, I think Sugar was the obvious number 1 seed coming into this tournament. They're the only undefeated team in Idaho even left across any classification. But then you look 2 through 4, and you have Bear Lake, South Fremont, and Timberlake. And I think, depending on who you ask, you could rank any of those teams 2, 3, or 4. I think those 3 teams are so evenly matched. I think all 3 of those teams have a legitimate case to get to championship Saturday at the Idaho Center, including Timberlake and looking at a potential semifinal matchup with them and Sugar. And then the bottom half are the lower teams that are somewhat seeded here. Is you have a lot of youth on those teams too. Gooding's one of them. McCall's got a lot of chemistry coming into this tournament. Kimberly's another young team that's playing well. And then Fruitland's playing their best basketball of the year right now. They kind of stumbled out the gate a little bit, but I think all 8 of these teams are, deservedly so to be here. And those top 4 teams, I think you have a case for any one of those 4 teams to win the state championship.
Lance, what's the first thing that jumps out to you when you look at this bracket?
Well, basically, as I look at it, I think we're seeing the present and the future. And I think Lucas hit on it just a little bit. You got some really young teams there. I've had a chance to watch most of these teams play live this year, some of them on multiple occasions. The other ones that I haven't seen live, I have seen on video as well. I know that's not the same as kind of the eye test when you see them live. But you take a team, for example, like Kimberly. I don't believe Kimberly's going to win it this year. However, over the next couple of years, they're going to be extremely good. I had a chance to watch them a couple different times. In fact, I had a chance to do the PA announcing for their game against Sugar Salem down in the Delta Center where the Utah Jazz played earlier on this year as well. However, I believe, and Bear Lake's a very good team. I've seen them twice this year as well. Out of the top 4 teams, Timberlake is the only one I have not watched live. I truly believe, and this doesn't take anything away from Timberlake and Bear Lake, I believe the best 2 teams in the state reside in the Mountain Rivers Conference in District 6 with Sugar Salem and South Fremont.
Well, Lance, Colton Ricks agrees with you in the chat. He says this is going to be brutal. However, I would not be surprised whatsoever if South Fremont and Sugar Salem met for the 5th time to determine state. Lance, can you talk to me a little bit about when Sugar and South played for the district championship? Because that was a really fun game, first of all, for Sugar. Heartbreaking for South Fremont. South Fremont leads with 2 seconds left, and Sugar is inbounding underneath their basket. They get a game-winning shot as time expires. Just
and that was actually in a semifinal game.
Sorry, semifinal.
But it was just a few seconds left. I think about 5 point whatever on the clock. I can tell you this: I've called basketball the state of Idaho for years and years and years and years. I've never been, boys or girls, in a better environment than that game. It was unbelievable. So was the next game as well. But I'm talking an unbelievable. There was not an empty seat in that place. Students rushed the floor. Lily Christensen had hit a great 3-point for South Fremont. And you know how I feel about these teams down here, and I just love every kid on all these teams. And then to have Mika Need hit that last second shot from the inbound pass, it was just an absolutely crazy night. But the whole tournament was a good tournament. I mean, they played twice in the regular season in good games that South could have won, twice in the district tournament and good games that South could have won as well. I mean, those teams are so closely matched. It's just been a little error here and there that's made the difference.
Yeah, this is a tournament that is wide open because the defending champion, Snake River, they really went through a tough winless season this year. They didn't return a single player from last year's championship team. But Lucas, we do have a defending champion in this bracket. It's Bear Lake, who won the 2A, now 3A championship last year. They moved up a level this year and really didn't seem to have any problem. I mean, they lost to Sugar, but it was a fairly close competitive game. They've got some really dynamic guards. This is a Bear Lake team that I think is, you got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I'm with you. So Bear Lake's got 3 losses on the year. They're going to come into the tournament with a 20-3 record. Those 3 losses, they have 2 of them to Sugar. Both of them were pretty close. I mean, one of them was 4-point game. The other one, an 11-point game, but not really a blowout by any means. Then their third loss is to Malad, who's the top seed in the bracket right behind them, right? So I mean, their 3 losses are to number 1 teams in the state, right? This is a solid Bear Lake team. They just won a state championship last year. They only lost 2 seniors. I don't know how they adjust to coming up to a higher classification. There might be a little bit to adjust to at that point. With Sugar Salem doesn't play down in the 2A and now the 3A class. They play up here, so I think that's going to be a team that could certainly challenge them a little bit, but. Bear Lake is a solid team with the experience that they have, which is something I really like about Sugar too, is the experience that they bring to the table. Bear Lake brings that too, with just losing 2 seniors off their state championship team last year, and the 3 losses are legit losses too.
Yep. As the token North Idaho guy up here, guys, I'll tell you a little bit about Timberlake. They only have 3 losses this year to Coeur d'Alene, the defending 6A state champs, only lost by 9. To Sandpoint by 5. Sandpoint's playing in the 5A tournament. And to Grangeville by a point in overtime, 49-48. Grangeville is playing in the 3A tournament. And that was a game where where Grangeville had to basically do the old miss a free throw intentionally, get the rebound and put it up as time expires just to tie the game. And then in overtime, they fouled the shooter with like a second left and lost on free throws. So this is a Timberlake team that is also very talented. Let's talk about the bottom half of the bracket, though. Matthew Arnold wants to get, or the bottom seeded teams in the bracket. Matthew Arnold wants to get the conversation started. McCall has 4 athletic fast guards and a 6'2" post. Yeah, there's 3 Arnold girls on this team, Lucas. They're part of a set of quadruplets. There's 1 boy that plays on the boys team, and then 3 girls that all play for this McCall Donnelly team. To me, they're the number 7 seed overall, but when I look at it, they look to me to be the most dangerous team because they got Emma Ormsby inside, who's a big 6'2" post. Lexi Tinney is a great lead guard, and then those 3 Arnold girls. That's a pretty good lineup for McCall Donnelly.
Yeah, it is. They got 3 girls here that average 8.9 points a game or better. They have their point guard with 8.9 points a game. Arnold averages 10, and then Ormsby averages almost 11 points a game as well. But you talked about Tinney, and she was out for 6 weeks, had a knee injury back in December. And that was kind of their challenge period of the year, that 6-week stretch without their starting point guard. And talking to some of their coaches and doing prep for this game, they said that was kind of when they saw other players step up into bigger roles. And, when you lose a player like that, you got to have other players step into those bigger time roles and take on more responsibility. And they did that over that 6-week stretch. If you're going to lose a player like that, you want to lose them in January. And now she's back, and now they have more players having more experience. And so, I'm with you. McCall's a team that, hasn't been to the state tournament. They lost in a state playing game last year. So, there's a little bit of hunger there. And this is their first appearance in the state tournament since they've jumped up to the 3 of the 4A ranks here for McCall. So it'll be interesting to see how they kind of adjust to the big stage there. But yeah, I'm with you as a deeper seed. It's a team that scores 45 points a game. It's a team that's got the most size, I think, out of any of these lower seeded teams. So if you're looking for an upset in the first round, this is definitely one to keep an eye on.
Yeah, here's Matthew. He says McCall also played a super tough schedule, lots of big schools, and they're finally getting healthy. Shug Bradshaw in the chat, guys. Go Bear Lake Bears. Lance, talk to me a little bit about Kimberly. You mentioned that they're a young team. They've got the Plew sisters, Teresa and Taya Plew. I'm just not sure how much they were challenged in their schedule this year. No disrespect to their conference, but I think when you look at their conference compared to other conferences at the 4A level, it wasn't as strong. And when they did play up, they did tend to struggle against teams like Mountain Home and Sugar and Jerome. And so I'm with you. I think Kimberly's a year away, but they could be a feisty team to watch also.
Yeah, they can, because they're full of athletes as well. And they're one of those teams, because they're so athletic, they're so young, that those teams tend to have those games every now and then where they just start hitting shots they don't know they're not supposed to hit, and they're very well coached. Don't let the record fool you. They're a very well coached team. They're just a young team. I think they're a year away from really being in the picture for a consolation or third place trophy, and maybe 2 years away from being in the state championship game, and having a chance to do that. But they're a very good team, good kids too, and they're very coachable. They like I said, I saw them a couple times this year, but both those games were against Sugar, and Sugar's a very good team this year. In fact, I'll get to that a little bit later. But yeah, Kimberly's a good squad, and they're just going to get better. And again, as we talk about the present and the future, and you look at a Sugar and South, not one of those teams had a senior on their team last year. Both of them returned every player from last year. Bear Lake just lost 2 players from that. And you see what can happen when you lose a lot of players. You look at Snake River this year, how they've really struggled with that. A good friend of mine, Cass Baldwin, is their coach this year. Their varsity is 4 freshmen and 4 sophomores. That is their varsity. There's only 1 junior in the program, and she played on the JV. Not a senior in the program. And so, when you graduate a lot of kids, those kind of things can happen as well. So I think that Kimberly is very much one of those future teams.
Yep, for sure. All right, guys, let's take a look at our 4A players to watch. We picked one from each team, kind of just a jumping off point here. Sadie Shaw from Bear Lake, Alexi Drollinger from Fruitland, Fallon Millican from Gooding, Taya Plew from Kimberly, Emma Ormsby from McCall, Breanne Bailey from South Fremont, such a fun player to watch, Nika Need, Sugar, and Malia Miller from Timberlake. A couple of coaches' daughters in there, Bailey at South Fremont, Miller at Timberlake, Plew at Kimberly. Lance, give me one player you're excited to see at this tournament.
Well, I'll have to give my excitement shout out to Breanne Bailey. I've seen her a number of times this year, but every time I've seen her, it's been against Sugar Salem. It'll be nice to be able to watch her play against some of the other competition around. I truly believe that Breanne Bailey is the best player in the state of Idaho, not 4A, the best player in the state of Idaho. And when you watch her play, I know for Lucas, he hasn't seen her play yet. She is an absolutely fantastic player, and she's got some good pieces around her as well. Kensley DeVille has done a good job. Larson in on the post. The sophomore Brookie Bear has done a great job as well. We talked about Lily Christensen earlier as well. Big shot that she hit in a game. But Breanne Bailey, and I think one of the reasons why I'm so excited to watch her play is because I'm excited to watch other people watching her play and see how good she is. She's a very good player.
Yeah. Lucas, give me a player you're excited to watch here.
Yeah, Lance is right. I'm excited to see Bailey too. She's the only player in this tournament that's averaging a double-double. So she'll enter the tournament averaging over 10 points and 10 rebounds a game. So anytime you have a player like that coming into a tournament like this with South, especially with they play Sugar in the state championship. It'll be the fifth time in a month that those two teams have played each other, and that'll just be an awesome game if we get there on Saturday. But I've seen her play on paper, I guess. Everything I've seen looks good on paper. So,
as good as it is on paper, you take them and Sugar this year is I'd have to say as good as they are on paper, they are every bit that good live, and Sugar's been able to get the best of that. Just a little shout out to Breanne Bailey's family. She had a brother, graduated a couple years ago, was serving an LDS mission up in Alaska, and got cancer while he was up there, got a tumor, and he is on the road to recovery now and doing very, very well. As I've had a chance to chat with his mom, with his mom a little bit, and also his sister. Chatted with his dad a few months ago as well. But I had actually run into them. I was coming back from Guatemala this fall, and I was in the Denver airport and ran into Bailey's because Breanne was over on a recruiting trip at Wyoming, University of Wyoming at that time. The next week went to Oregon State, and then the next week ended up signing with Montana State, or committing to Montana State. But it's a good it's a good group, and I'll tell you, this Sugar group, Sugar's probably the most balanced of the teams as far as number of people that can hurt you. And you want to look at tough schedules, look at that 15-point win over Wasatch, who at the time was the number 1 ranked team in the state of Utah. They would be a 6A school here in Idaho. Beat them by 15 points, turn around, beat Blackfoot by 16 points. And that Wasatch team had the leading scorer in the state of Utah. I'd have to check to see if she still is, 6'4", and had 2 other girls, 6'2" and 6'3" as well. So I think if this comes to a championship game between Sugar and South Fremont, the state of Idaho is in for a pretty special evening.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get to that. Some comments in the chat here. Jerb says, Bailey, best athlete in the state. You're spot on, although Shippen from Skyline is averaging a double-double for the season. Hayden Eulencott from North Idaho. Malia Miller can play from Timberlake, one of the best players up north.
Definitely she can.
Yes. Paul says, I agree with Lance Taylor about Breanne Bailey. And now we'll see, Lance, if you agree with Paul. He says it's going to be South Fremont and Sugar in the finals. It is time, guys, to make your official predictions. Lance, what's your championship matchup and winner?
This is what I'll tell you. I know these two communities so well. And you guys know, I'm obviously the PA announcer from Sugar. Every one of those kids is almost like a daughter to me. I feel so strongly about South Fremont as well. This is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to let Lucas pick who he thinks is going to win. I'm just going to say it's going to be the Mountain Rivers Conference out of District 6 that wins the state championship.
All right, Lucas, a lot of pressure. Maybe Lucas doesn't agree. Maybe he's got Bear Lake.
Yeah, he could pick somebody else, and Bear Lake could win it. They're a very good team. Timberlake's a very good team.
Well, here's the thing. I do think Thursday goes chalk here. I do think the top 4 teams get through to Friday. That being Sugar, South, Bear Lake, and Timberlake. We're talking about the potential state championship game on Saturday and how good that'll be. I think we're set up, if this goes chalk Thursday, I think we're going to have 2 phenomenal semifinal games on Friday, too. Bear Lake South, I think, would be a great game. Timberlake Sugar, I think, would be a great game. Timberlake, we haven't talked about them as much as I would have liked on the show so far. Timberlake's been to 9 of the last 14 state championship games. So that's just an incredible run for Timberlake. This team knows how to get to the state tournament. They know how to win in the state tournament. And Lance was talking about kind of the future teams and the present teams, right? Well, Lance and I did this tournament 2 years ago, and Timberlake was a team that was kind of a futures team. They had 2 players that were their top 2 scorers were freshmen in terms of how many points they score per game. And Timberlake did pretty well in that tournament. They got the state championship game. They lost to Snake River. So Timberlake's a dangerous team sitting there at that 4 seed, and I think Timberlake Sugar could be an awesome game Friday night as well. I do think that the depth of Sugar, I think, will matter in this one. Sugar is as Lance said, the deepest team in this tournament. So I do like a Sugar South state championship game. But I do think we're going to get 2 really good games on Friday night too. Now, that being said, a Sugar South state championship game, again, it'd be the 5th time that they played each other in a month. I like South to get it done. I think you can only play a team this close so many times and not get one. And I think South can finally get one.
Hey, I do want to mention one potential matchup that is a very special potential matchup. If Sugar and Timberlake would get to pass the first round, that matchup with Malia Miller and Andy Peterson from Sugar Salem, who plays for Utah Select during the summertime. That will be a pretty special matchup.
Yeah, without a doubt.
All right, guys. Debbie gets the last word here. Don't give up on Bear Lake. They will surprise you. We'll see that.
Hey.
That Final Four is going to be fire, no doubt.
Yeah, we're not going to give up on any of those teams because they could step up and win it as well. Just at the eye test and where we sit right now, my assessment is based upon that, having seen these teams.
Yeah, I think you have a case for any one of those top 4 teams to win the state championship this weekend. I think any one of those 4 teams can do it.
It's going to be a lot of fun for sure. We're looking forward to your guys' call of the action. Lucas Gebhardt, Lance Taylor are going to be broadcasting the 4A state tournament here on IdahoSports.com. All right, when we come back, we're 15 minutes behind schedule. You might be expecting a 2A conversation. Well, it's the 3A tournament up next. It's the 2025 Idaho High School Girls Basketball State Tournament Preview Special on IdahoSports.com.
As Idahoans, we're not afraid to take risks.
All the way, all the way. Go. All the way down, all the way down.
Driving under the influence is not a risk we're willing to take. Be around to do more of what you love.